Counter-Narrative News, bringing you daily news today on Tuesday, the 16th of May 2023. Finally, the white colonial settler state of Israel has concluded a ceasefire agreement with the Palestinian resistance in the contained and sieged Gaza Strip in South Palestine after the massacre by the Israeli state, mostly by airstrikes, of 33 Palestinians, including dozens of women and children. The next day after the ceasefire, the colonial state still managed to kill another young person in the occupied West Bank of Palestine. In one sense, the Palestinian resistance has stood its ground and been steadfast in the face of the barrage. The Israeli state argued that its airstrikes and barbarity against the people of Gaza was to do with attacking the resistance group closely tied to the Iranian state leadership of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The resistance on their part in Gaza continued to show its capability of standing up for itself in mostly a symbolic manner by the launching of relatively tiny rockets relative to the Israeli military state, which is one of the most sophisticated and powerful military states of any state on the entire planet. However, although the resistance in Gaza shows its capacity to be able to reach Jerusalem by means of its smaller resistance rockets, zooming out, we can see that there is still no real viable move regionally or strategically to assist the Palestinians in their struggle for self-determination. And connected to that, you can see at the COP28 summit coming up is going to be the participation of the Syrian leadership of President Assad of Syria, which the pro-imperialist, pro-Israeli state of the United Arab Emirates is encouraging Syria to participate in COP28, where the Israeli state is also a participant, which all indicates, and many other factors, and Counter-Narrative News has been reporting on this for many months now, that the entire politics of the region is still continuing strategically in the interests of NATO, of the white colonial settler state of Israel, of the closest neo-colonial client states of British, French and US imperialism, particularly the Gulf cooperation countries. So politically, the situation continues to descend in the region as it does globally. Going over to South Africa, the President Ramaphosa has denied that his non-aligned general policy favors the Russian state in the context of the Russian colonial mission and aggression, colonization, annexation of its much smaller neighbor Ukraine. Now, the South African government stated that Putin was welcome in South Africa in defiance of the ICC demand that Putin hands himself in around the mass kidnap of Ukrainian children by the colonial occupying force, which is Russia. Within 24 hours, actually, the South African government had to rescind on that comment. And while Ramaphosa is stating that his non-aligned policy doesn't necessarily favor Russia in this regards, the commander of the South African Grand Forces, Major Lieutenant Mbatha, is currently in Moscow visiting the Moscow leadership, which kind of confuses and kind of causes just like a confusion around the comments on Ramaphosa. And instead of Ramaphosa and the ANC state in South Africa putting so much emphasis in sympathy with the Russian military, instead of developing right-wing policies and failing the working class and peasants of South Africa, maybe they should, instead of this right-wing policies of enriching themselves and their military, instead conduct strategically the war against poverty, the war against division and alienation and lack of infrastructure for the people of the shanty towns. Going over to Colombia in South America, the Revolutionary Guerrilla Army of the National Liberation Army, or the ELN, has expressed frustrations in relation to the leftist former guerrilla, actually, as well, Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia, who has stated that he himself is somewhat frustrated with the ELN because it doesn't seem that they have a clear hierarchy of leadership and command, which indicates the fact that the grassroots of the ELN are very cynical and are very critical and unsure in going into this peace process, which has been the case in previous so-called peace processes as well. And as we've said, and we reiterate again, why is a former guerrilla fighter who's a current leftist as president of Colombia, and that general connected so-called left community arguing that the disarmament of a revolutionary army is somehow positive when it's in the context still of a capitalist state that has close ties with imperialism, and Gustavo and his relatively leftist administration will eventually be replaced at the next administration or the next by another right-wing one, which is totally in the pocket of global colonial companies and states. That should be reflected on. Finally, going to the southern state of Karnataka in India, the BJP has lost its control of the state there. The BJP has very little control of any states in the south, actually, and it's really failed to have penetrated into the south of India like it has in other regions in the central and northern parts of India. Congress party is back into power in Karnataka state, but Congress itself has no real answers to the issues of sectarian and racist divisions and ongoing capitalist exploitation and immiseration and growing poverty and all the connected issues in India. Arguably, it's actually the failures of Congress historically which has brought about the successes of this far-right politics in the form of the BJP state. That's Counter-Narrative News, bringing daily news today. Please continue to support us by sharing our videos and encouraging your friends and networks to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we wish everyone a fantastic day. Many thanks.